Guardian bumper installation for the Jeep JL and JT. Removing the factory bumper. Please note there are 3 different bumper options and fog lights available for the JL and JT. The basic removal process is the same across all the models. However, some details are specific to each model. Step 1. Using a plastic clip pry bar or flathead screwdriver, locate and remove 2 factory plastic rivets. Please note these are located directly behind the tow hooks. You can discard the factory rivets. Step 2. Working under the Jeep, locate 8 plastic fasteners along the bottom front edge. Use a fastener pry tool to remove them. Set these fasteners aside in a protected area for later use. Step 3. Using an 8mm socket, locate and remove 2 factory bolts holding the factory splash guard onto the bumper. Remove and discard the factory splash guard and hardware. Step 4. Once the splash guard is removed, the factory crossmember bracket is revealed. Using a 16mm socket, locate and remove 2 factory bolts holding the factory bracket. Remove and discard the factory bracket. Set aside the bolts for later use when installing the supplied frame rail. Step 5. Behind the bumper, locate and remove the 4 factory mounting nuts using an 18mm deep socket. Please note that there are 2 on each side of the frame horn end. Leave the factory support brackets in place. You can discard all hardware. Repeat this process for the other side of the Jeep. Step 6. Proceed to the passenger side of the vehicle. Working behind the bumper, locate and disconnect the factory fog light harness connector. Step 7. With help from an assistant, firmly pull the front bumper off the frame rails. Step 8. Place the factory bumper face down on a padded workbench. To reveal the factory fog lights, remove the plastic cover and metal crash bar. Discard the hardware and plastic parts when you're done. Repeat for the other side. Please note that various bumper versions are available. Your bumper may differ. Removing the factory fog lights. Step 9. With the plastic cover and metal structure removed, locate and remove the 4 factory mounting bolts to remove the fog lights. Repeat for the other side. Unplug the lights and set them aside for later use. Step 10. Using a fastener pry tool, remove the wiring harness attached to the back of the bumper. Set the harness aside for later use. The JL fog light adapter bracket. Please note that if your factory bumper is equipped with incandescent bulb fog lamps with 3 mounting holes as shown in your installation manual and in this video, unclip the factory lamp from the factory housing and install the lamps in the supplied fog light adapter brackets. Installing the factory fog lights in your Guardian bumper. Step 1. Place the new Guardian bumper face down on a padded workbench. Carefully position the factory fog lights in the bumper light bracket and line up the holes in the factory fog lights with the holes in the bumper bracket. Step 2. Using an electric screw gun with a number 2 tip, install the supplied Phillips head screws M4 by 0.7 by 16 mm through the fog light holes and into the holes on the bumper light bracket. Do not over-tighten these screws. Installing the winch cradle onto your Guardian bumper. Step 1. Place the supplied winch cradle onto the vehicle frame horn end. Line up the holes in the winch cradle with the holes in the vehicle frame horn ends. Push one M12 by 55 bolt through the top right and left holes of the winch cradle and through the hole in the frame horn end. Step 2. Slide the supplied M12 flat washer and M12 split washer onto the bolts. Start a supplied M12 hex nut onto the bolts and finger tighten. Proceed to install the rest of the bolts, washers, and nuts. Once all the bolts are installed, tighten down using an 18mm socket. Repeat this for the other side of the vehicle. Installing the supplied frame rail. Step 1. Place the supplied frame rail bracket onto the vehicle. Line up the holes in the frame rail with the threaded holes on the vehicle. Reinstall the hardware you removed on Step 4 using the M16 socket. Installing the Guardian bumper. Please note that if you plan to install a winch, do it at this time. Once the bumper is installed, it will be more difficult to access the mounting points for the winch installation. Step 1. Position the Guardian bumper onto the installed winch cradle. Line up the holes in the top of the bumper with the slots in the winch cradle. Step 2. Locate the supplied skid plate and proceed to the lower front part of the bumper. Carefully pull back the bumper and insert the skid plate tab between the bumper and winch cradle. Line up the holes on the bumper, skid plate, and winch cradle. Slide the supplied large washer and a plastic washer onto a supplied M8 by 30mm Allen head bolt. Then push the bolt through the hole in the bumper, skid plate, and winch cradle. Repeat this for the other side. Step 3. While holding the skid plate and bolt in position, proceed to the inside of the bumper from underneath the vehicle. Please note that depending on your experience level, you may need an assistant at this point to support the winch plate and hold the bolts. Working inside the bumper, slide an M8 flat washer and M8 split washer onto the Allen head bolt. Start an M8 hex nut on the bolt and finger tighten. Repeat this step for the other side. Once both are complete, tighten the hex nuts. Step 4. Locate a supplied M10 by 30mm Allen head bolt. Slide a supplied M10 split washer and supplied M10 flat washer onto the bolt. Proceed to the rear of the skid plate. Push the Allen head bolt through the hole in the skid plate and through the hole in the frame rail bracket you previously installed. Step 5. While holding the skid plate and bolt into position, reach inside the skid plate and slide an M10 large washer onto the Allen head bolt. Start a supplied M10 hex nut on the bolt and finger tighten. Repeat steps 4 and 5 for the other side. Once all hardware is installed, tighten all hex nuts. Step 6. Locate the supplied hoop and place it onto the bumper. Line up the holes in the hoop with the holes in the bumper. Locate an M8 by 30mm Allen head bolt. Slide a plastic washer and large washer onto the bolt. Push the bolt through the holes in the hoop, through the holes in the bumper, and through the slots in the winch plate. Slide a supplied flat washer and a split washer onto the bolt. Start a hex nut on the bolt end. Repeat this step for the other side. Once both sides are complete, tighten all hardware. Step 7. Finish the installation by installing the factory wiring harness inside the frame rail and securing it with zip ties. Please note these are not supplied. Connect the power plugs to both factory fog lights. Your JL or JT Guardian bumper installation is now complete. Product care of your Guardian bumper. Periodically check the product to ensure all fasteners are tight and components are intact. Regular washing and waxing is recommended to protect the finish of the product. It's important to routinely check lighting installed in the product to ensure these components are correctly oriented and functioning properly.